Yeah. Hey Jordan, how you doing? You're on there. Sorry to be so late. I think I will leave off for gas. Realizing how much gas. Yeah, no worries. Vibes. All right, cool. Right, just rearrange some stuff here. Right, so put up Liam. Yeah. Okay, let me see who they. Right, Julie out for the evening. I see her for at all. Jaden had to go Geo, right? Okay, cool. Right, Javier said he would come. So Siri here, Josiah here, Julie here, Kiona here. Khalifa had something today, right? She had today. All right, yeah, well. All right, Liam here. I see Logan. Marcus is here, right? I see Noah, Nyla, Paige, Shamor, and Valentino. Okay, cool. Chipotle animal. You come put that. Will you come put that name, boy? That name. That's serious. It wasn't a sriracha animal. We're straight into dance. Yeah. So tell Jolie that Jordan said hi. Jolie, Jordan, say hi. Oh, you hear that? All right, we're gonna start momentarily. Yeah, sorry to be so late again. Anyhow, right. Ladies and gents, so we did some transformations this morning. Dr. Mark Daniel, good day. How are you doing, sir? Right. All right, cool. Let me just go with some stats here, right? Right. So we did some what you call it? Transformations this morning and in the early afternoon. So what we're looking to do now is we're looking to do some statistics and probability, right? So starting from May 2019 go forward. Now I don't know that we'll get through all 5 of these questions in the hour and a half that we have, but we'll try. All right. So let's just zoom in one time and start. So the cumulative frequency distribution of the volume of petrol, which is gas, needed to fill the tanks of 150 different vehicles as shown below. So this is the quantity of liters. And this is the cumulative frequency. All right. So we cleared, what do you call this type of data? Raw, ungrouped, or grouped? This is grouped data, right? Grouped. And what do we call these? Well, I guess you could call them ranges. What do you call these things here? Here's an I. Who won the game yesterday? Who beat Barca? Uh-huh. Hold on. All right. Let me write it in integers as whole numbers. All right. We playing hangman now. All right. There we go. Right. Playing Jeopardy. Okay. Mm-hmm. We just said that. Liam, tell them. For anybody who might know, please inform the good people. I'll give you our next letter. You're real close. Intervene? See, this is not intervals, right? You did? Oh, I didn't hear that. Sorry. And they're not just called intervals, they're called class intervals, right? Class intervals, right? Now the class intervals here go from 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40. So in terms of the... You're Jordan. What do you mean? Yeah, nobody's... Well, actually, I'm one of the girls on TikTok who was in the accounts crash course, Jordan. Right, so we have class intervals, right? So these are your class intervals, and they are defined by these numbers that they have a smaller number and a bigger number, right? So let's take the 11 to 20, right? So if you were to consider all of the possible whole numbers in that interval, it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. How many is that? That's 10, right? 11 to 20. It's like 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30. It's a range of 10. Right. Now, this number here is called the lower class limit. And this number here, what do you think it's called? It's called the upper class limit. Okay, so everybody's scrappy, right? 20.5. Valeo, I come into that. No, that's the boundary. That's the boundary. You're ahead of me. All right, cool. Right. Now, check this, right? What are we measuring here? The volume needed to fill the tanks in liters, right? Now, there are two types of what we call variables. Well, one of the ways to classify variables is whether they are continuous or they are discrete. Discrete variables, like if you had goals in football, runs in cricket, number of people, number of cars, you can only have integer values, whole number values. Got 1.5 goals, 2 and 3/4 runs, right? That'll happen, right? Not as far as I know anyway, take it, right? But of course, for other things like height and weight and time, and as you can see here, volume, right? Length, we could have pieces, we could subdivide. Like even on your rulers, right? When you have these centimeters, you have subdivisions for millimeters and these things, right? Yeah, Nick, see what's going on. Afternoon. Right. So for these class intervals, we actually have values that are 0.5 below and 0.5 above the lower and upper class limits, respectively. And they are called the lower class boundary. So LCB for lower class boundary and UCB for the upper class boundary. Right? So values that are greater than or equal to 10.5 but less than 20 because if the value is 20.5 and you have to round off, would you round down to 20 or up to 21? You round up. So the value has to be less than 20.5, right? So for all of these things, so for example, for 21 to 30, the lower class boundary would be 20.5 and the upper class would be 30.5, right? For the one below, it will be 30.5 and 40.5 and so on, okay? Right. Okay, so for the class 21 to 30, well, I kind of just give the answer, right? Determine the lower class boundary, right? So 21 to 30 are the lower and upper class limits. All right. Lower and upper class limits. Low and up. Right? So to get the boundary, what we have to do? We have to go to 20.5, right? So that's the lower class boundary. All right, so that's a mark there. And the class width, right? So the class width is the number of whole number values in the interval. Now, usually we have what we call uniform class intervals or uniform width class intervals, as in they all have the same class width. All right. This question not anymore. Phrase. What? Not sure what you're talking about, but for the range. Okay, well, I'll send my example now. If you have a paper with it, let me know and I'll see if I can pull it up. Yeah. If I can do what? Scroll up? Yeah, sorry. Right. So we actually did this a little earlier, right? So to go from 11 to 20, if you count out the actual whole numbers, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, that's 10 whole numbers, right? Same thing for 21 to 30. All right. So the class width would be 10. Now to get the class width, you could either do upper class boundary minus lower class boundary, or you could do upper class limit minus lower class limit and then add back 1. Right? So both of these will give you the same exact value. Right? PUA paper. That is maths. But it will be done when you guys finish exams. I ain't doing that anytime soon. I have too many other things to do. Sorry. I have this maths. After maths is add maths. After that's PUA multiple choice. After PUA multiple choice is add maths multiple choice. I'm finishing maths multiple choice. And on top of that, I have form 4 to deal with too. So, yo. All right. Just very quickly, let's take a look at that as you asked, right? The ranges. We'll take a look at that, right? Because I have the 2024 and 25. Right. Okay, so we're here today on the Wednesday. Right. So after Friday, we kind of focus on admats. We should film up days and times so we can tell the class, right? And see if anybody have any class. Like, for example, this day might be a tough sell because they have English and PE the next day. And I know some of them might have Geo too. It's possible none of them do, but we had to ask, right? Because if that's the case, I mean, we could do, instead of triple session on the weekend, we could do double sessions, 10 to 12, 1 to 3. Hopefully plug that in Monday too. And then that way 6 sessions will be done. So maybe if we could get any here at all, and a couple on this day as well. Okay. Right? So I probably would need you to come here so you could focus on them and then we'll call it George. Right? And then after, yeah, so other people who asked, right? So for the PUA multiple choice, which is on the 20th, which is a Tuesday, right? If you guys are available, because I know some all have chem, some all have history, so I know those who have both of them, I ain't seen it here at all, no problem, right? And then of course some all have bio and IT, and of course they put PUA on the econ paper today. Anyhow, right? So what we'll do, these are the tentative days and times. I might put some polls in the chat. Hey, pretty big that. I'll put some polls in the chat to see who could attend when, right? Yeah. So that's fine. So maybe if anything, we could always start from the Friday. Spanish paper 2 or paper 1? I don't know. I must stop. Oh, look at 30th of May. Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah, so after PUA, nothing for a little bit, and then you add maths paper 1 prep will start across here, and then somehow we're going to fit in maths on top of that too. Right? Even if I have to kick out the form 4s that evening, I'll do that, right? There's no scene. Or Mishka could handle the form 4 maths, if anything. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, so that's basically it. So after maths, the add maths students have more priority. And then from next week, sorry, that's next week already? Wow. Yeah, from next week, we kind of focus on the, yeah. But then no, after the add maths is PUA paper 1, eh? Yeah. All right, cool. Okay, guys, yes. Early June. Yeah, yeah. So it's, yeah, because the add maths is before Oleon. So I'll try to just, well, again, Mishka could probably take points on that, and I could take maths people. So that's the case, and you'll want to, right? No, what I'm saying is that Mishka could handle the add maths multiple choice, and I can handle maths multiple choice, right? So what we could do is, if we divide and conquer, right? I could start to live from the weekend. So we could start doing stuff like 10 to 12, 1 to 3. We're not bound to do like triple sessions from multiple choice, right? So we could fit in about 8 to 10 sessions, and then that should be more than enough. Right? Because also that we could have HSB, French and Chem multiple choice, Bio multiple choice, Geo, TD, and of course English 80 day before, right? So we gotta be mindful, people have things to do, right? But we'll fit it in, and whoever could come, and if you can't come, well, we will do. Right, sorry, going back to it. Right, so again, if we took the 21 to 30, right? So the upper class boundary, we said was, sorry, 30.5, right? Well, we didn't say that, but yeah, the upper class boundary will be 30.5. What is the answer here, right? So the upper class boundary is 30.5, and we're subtracting the lower class boundary of 20.5. And 30.5 minus 20.5 is exactly equal to 10, right? If you do the upper and lower class limits, that's the 30 and the 21, and you have to add back 1. So 30 minus 21 is 9, but 9 plus 1 is equal to 10, right? And hey T, how you doing? Yeah, and we added back the 1 because, think about it. If you said, okay, what are the first 10 counting numbers? The first 10 numbers, 1 to 10, right? It's not 10 numbers, but if you did 10 minus 1, what you'd get? 9, right? So if you have a start point and an end point, and it's consecutive numbers, and you subtract, it'll give you 1 less than the actual number of numbers. How many numbers there were, right? Oh, God, what specifically I see? The 0.5s or the 21? All right, so they start you off kind of nice and easy here. Some basic, I wouldn't say definitions, but little pieces. Okay, 1 second, let's see if it's time with the task. All right, cool. All right, well, let me know how I could help, right? All right, did I put a copy for Nyla? Yeah. All right, yeah, cool. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right. Okay. So the question is, how many vehicles were recorded in the class 31 to 40? All right. Go over everything real quick. Well, let me see. Don't know that I can, because we kind of started late already, so I can't go back too much. But let's see. So they ask, what are they asking again? How many vehicles were recorded in the class 31 to 40? Okay, so the class or class interval. So that's right. So that's 31 to 40 here. Now, what is this item? What is that? What is that? The frequency or the cumulative frequency? Right. So to get the cumulative frequency, you'd have to add up the frequencies of each class interval as you go down, right? Now, for the first class interval, right, the surface area of a sphere, that's not 4 pi r squared. Yeah, 4 pi r squared. Yeah, right. So the frequency, I'm trying to figure, right. Yeah, so the frequency here would just be the same 24, right? Because the first interval, right, is where you start. So you only have one item to add. So the cumulative frequency starting from the first interval would be the same as its frequency, right? Now we have to add 24 to some number to get 59. How do we find what number you have to add to 24 to get 59? You subtract, right? What's 24 what's 59 minus 24? 35, very good. And then you'd have to add 35. Sorry, you'd add 59 to some value to get 101, right? So you're always adding, going like across and down and across, down and across. So how would you find that value there? Correct. You take 101 and minus 59, which I believe is 42. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Let's work on the rest of the individual frequencies, shall we? Right. So then we'd have to add 101 to some value here, the frequency for that interval to get 29. What do we have to add to 101 to get 129? 28. Very good. And what do we have to add to 120 to get 150? 21. There you go. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, Trishana, no problem. Right. So to answer the question is 35. So there were 35 vehicles in that interval, that class interval. All right. Part C, a vehicle is chosen at random from the 150 vehicles. What is the probability that the volume of petrol needed to fill its tank is, sorry, what? How much what? Oh, wasn't it 35? Right? They asked for the 31 to, which one they wanted? It's 31 to 40. Oh, no, you're correct. Yeah, sorry. Oh, gosh, I pulled the wrong one. Sorry, thank you, Kiona. Right, sorry. No, my bad. Sorry, guys. Right, so it's this one, because this is the interval they asked for here. So the answer is 42. Sorry about that. How many vehicles? 42. All right, cool, sorry. Okay, right. Now, a vehicle is chosen at random from the 150 vehicles. What is the probability that the volume of petrol needed to fill its tank is? Was that phrase there? More than 50 liters. Okay. So more than 50.5 liters. So was the first whole number greater than 50.5? 51. So what they're asking for here is, was the probability that the volume, if the fill the tank is 51 and more, right? Or 50.5 and higher. So 50.5 would be the upper class boundary here. Do we agree? Right. Now, there's only one class interval after that, not so? That's this class interval here. Okay. Now, to find the probability, and if we select a vehicle at random, it takes, well, it falls in this interval. That's what they're saying, right? If it takes more than 50.5 liters to fill the tank, it clearly falls in this interval. Are we okay with that, first of all? All right. So we have to find out, first of all, how many vehicles are in that interval. And we actually did. We just did the frequency for each interval. So we have what, 21, right? Okay. So what we do is we put the 21 over the 150. We put the number of vehicles in that interval over the total number of vehicles. Oh my gorm. Hold on, just now. Stop. Right. All right. So the probability that the amount of petrol you need to fill the tank, let's just call that X, is greater than 50.5 liters. So we need the number of vehicles, right? Vehicles that take more than 50.5 liters to fill the tank. And we have to divide by the total number of vehicles. Total number. All right, so once again, it was 21 vehicles in that last interval and a total of 150 vehicles in. Right, correct. Cloudy night light. Okay, yeah. So if you reduce this here, 3 could go into 21 7 times, and 3 into 150 could go 50 times. And 7 over 50 is close to 7 over 49, right? And 7 goes into 49 7 times. So that's one. So it's 1 7 is about 14%. Yeah, actually, this is exactly equal to 14%. Because if you were to express as a percentage, you'd multiply by 100 over 1, right? You could take 7 over 50, multiply by 100 over 1. Right? 50 goes into 51 times, 50 into 100 2 times, and 7 by 2 is 14%. They have a 14% chance that the vehicle you select will take more than 50.5 liters to fill its tank. 21. There were 21 vehicles in that interval with 150 in total, right? Remember, the total cumulative frequency is total number of vehicles in the entire survey. Just now, you know. When you put the 0.5, right? So 50.5 is the upper class boundary of that interval. For the upper and lower class boundaries, yes. So for the upper is 0.5 above the upper class limit, and for the lower is 0.5 below the lower class limit. Yeah, if they wanted to define the lower class boundary, yes, it'd be 40.5. This would be 30.5 here. Oh, this one 10.5, yeah? 10.5. Yeah? All right, cool. All right, that's for a fraction. Oh, sorry, yeah, the answer is a fraction. Good job. Yeah, so guys, please read your requirements carefully. Thank you very much. All right, Liam, just give me a quick G if you're good with this stuff so far. No, please and thanks. If you need me to rework or re-explain, give me an R, and I'm going to know what to rework. The portal. You good? Okay, cool. All right, yeah. Okay, so that's part C. In class, people, how are you feeling so far with this question? Any problems, anything you want to re-explain, or we good so far? Good? All right. Marcus, you good too? All right, cool. All right. Byron estimates the median amount of petrol to be 43.5 liters. Explain why Byron's estimate is incorrect. Okay, the median of a set of data is the data point, right? Or the item, the observation exactly halfway through the distribution. Now, when you have group data, you don't have to worry about whether they have an odd or even number of data points. You just have to find what is the value of the halfway point. Now, what I mean by that is as follows, right? So the total number in our data set is 150, right? So what we do to find the median value, also known as Q2, where Q is quartile, the second quartile, what we do is we take the number of data points and divide it by 2. So we are looking for this where the 75th observation lies. Now 75 is not the median. The value of the median is not 75, right? If it was 100 data points, 100 divided with 50, that is not the median. That tells us which observation is the median. So what we have to do now is go back to the table and figure out where the 75th data point will lie, in which interval. Now, according to Byron, is 43.5. All right? All right. So, Talia's in 75. All right. Sorry, 75.5. Okay. So, median. Sorry. Okay. So, we're looking for where which one? 75th observation is, right? Okay, cool. So, the first 24 observations are here. Then we had how many? We had 35 after. So 24 and 35 will give us how much? 59, right? That's 59 there. So the first 59 observations are here. From the first observation all the way to the 59th. Which one are we looking for? The 75th? Right. Now here you have up to 101, right? So sorry, in the first interval, you have the first 24 items. In the second interval, you have item 25 to 30, to 59, sorry. Your question? Oh, right. And the next one, you have, let me just take out this. Yeah, you have 60 to 101. The next one, you have 102 to 129. And the last one, you have 130 to 150. All right. Okay, so in which of these would the 75th one lie? This one here, right? So the value of the median is somewhere between 31 and 40, right? Now, what was Byron's estimate? 35.5? 43.5. So he estimating that the median is somewhere here. But those observations are the 102nd to the 129th. And the median is found at which value? The 75th observation, which clearly has to lie here. Right? So we could say that. We could say Byron is wrong because the median is the 75th observation. And that lies in the interval 31 to 40. Right? Or you could say the observations in, 45, what is 45.5? 43.5, there lies in the interval 41 to 50, which has observations 102 to 129, whereas the median is the 75th observation. So hence, the median cannot lie in that interval. All right, so let me write it. Right. Explain why Byron's. Okay, so the median observation. Now there's one marker, so don't go overboard. The median observation is the 75th observation, right? Or the median data point. Median is 75th data point. Right, data point, or you could use the word observation or 75th reading, right? 75th data point, right? 75th data point lies in the interval what was the interval it was in? 31 to 40? All right, Byron's estimate lies in another interval. And that is plenty to write for one marker. So, I mean, they give you enough space in case you have to dance some words and try and figure out how to, what you call it. Pretty sure. You might even be able to say something a little shorter than that. All right, the so 43.5 liters does not lie in the median interval. Of 31 to 40. Class width. Where was it? Okay, the class width as in like the formulas. Right, so you could do upper class boundary minus lower class boundary. Or you could do upper class limit minus lower class limit, but you have to add one after you do that subtraction. Right? Yeah, you can do that one too. So if you're using limits instead, you also have to add back one. It's like if we had an interval 1 to 10. Now, if you count out from 1 to 10, you get 10, right? But some people like to subtract, and they say, well, 10 minus 1 is 9. Like, yeah, that's true, but if you count from 1 to 10, you get 10. So if you're doing upper and lower class limits, when you take upper and minus lower limit, you always have to add back 1. All right. Yeah. So the item in the green is you kind of one line you can get away with, right? And if it was 2 marks, I would suggest putting the stuff in the blue. Right? But if you probably got like a half mark for calculating which one of them was the median interval. Right. Who cook for matter? Who gonna cook? Well, if you're cooking, make sure you need some seasoning. Sorry. All right. All right, we're scrolling up. Okay. All right, sorry. Go ahead. You could see it when we zoom in. Let's give some people in class a couple of stuff. Right? All right, cool. All right, going again. Ready? Let's go down. Okay. Now, the last thing they want us to do is to, on the partially labeled grid below, construct a histogram to represent the distribution of the volume of petrol to fill the 150 tanks. Right. So for a histogram, on the vertical axis, you can see its frequency. The frequency will be the height of the bars, right? Now, with a histogram, the bars will touch. Because if you go back to the data, right? Right? If you look at the, hold on, let me just put back in something I had just now. I took out. Right. If you take a look at the upper class limit of one boundary and the lower class limit of the next, what you're observing, like here, the upper class limit here and the lower class limit here, what are they? They're the same. So that is why the bars must touch. Because one starts where one ends, right? So on the horizontal axis, you have to put the volume, right? So what I would suggest, go up. So what you could do, you could use a scale. So clearly we have to go from, now there's no 1 to 10 interval, right? And you're going 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40. And with this one, of course, you're going to have 50.5. The polygon, the frequency polygon.
Yeah, it's like everything else is science. Yeah, like in chemistry.
Or to break the axis. Yeah. Yeah, like if you don't have the interval 1 to 10, you don't want to leave space on your graph. Yeah, so you'll just break the axis. Like you can do that here. Let me see. Yeah. So you'll do this like that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So then you'll start here. So you'll start from 10 here to 20 and 30, 40, 50, and 60, right? It's up to 60 we had, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Right. So what I'll do is I will give you a few minutes so you all can draw any bars. If you all don't have like rulers and straight edges, let me know. I think I have 1 or 2 floating around. All right. Let me see if I can just neaten up those numbers down there, right? All right, sorry. Is there a circle theorem question for this? There is, Vanessa, but the thing is, I would only focus on stats and probability for the afternoon. I kind of did circle geometry like a while ago. I don't think I'll be covering it again, but let me see if I could go back and make some of those lives public and y'all can take a look. Let me check. Sorry. What is that sign between these? Okay, that's called breaking the axis. So that's we didn't have any interval for 1 to 10, right? So but you don't want to leave like a blank space on your graph per se. So we do that to do what we call breaking the axis. Let me see. So that's the CF. The frequency is the individual ones that we have here, right? So the highest one is 42. All right, cool. All right, so hold on. M and M beanies. Why do you use those numbers specifically on the axis? Right. So what happened was we measure in volume on the x-axis, and it basically goes from 11 to 60, right? On the histogram, right? Yeah. So you're talking about the numbers on the horizontal beanies. When I use like 10, 20 GPS, aren't you going to do? Yeah, I'm going to do it, but like in June sometime because right now we're prepping for maths. Right after maths is add maths. After add maths is accounts paper one. After that is add maths paper one, then period paper one. Sorry, add maths and maths paper one. Yeah. What if you forget? Might cost you a half mark. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, beanies. Yeah. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm setting it up so the bar. So each bar is supposed to represent one of these class intervals, right? So let me do the first couple as an example, right? So the first class interval is 11 to 20. But what we do is you go from the lower class boundary to the upper class boundary to encompass the values that could be rounded off into that interval, all right? So that goes up to 24. All right, cool. And then 35. All right, right. Right, so 10 point. Okay, I'm gonna need to kind of take a slightly lighter weight. Right. What was the first frequency? It was 24, right? Right, so 24. 10.5 will be between 24. We're going to go across to 20.5 and then go down here. Right? I know it's very, what you call it? It's very thin. Yeah, no problem. All right, and the next one was 30. The next one was 35. It's 24 and 35, right? Cool. So we're just going to build off of that again. So we're going to 35. Go across to here and then come down in the middle. Yeah. So those lines kind of thin. You'll see in them though. Yeah, I drawing them with the thinnest one so you could see like it's 10.5, 20.5, 20.5 to 30 and so forth, right? Right, sorry. Suki, what is this? Okay, no, if the, these are on the X. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, you're supposed to, because especially because it's group data and it's continuous, so you have to use those the boundaries as opposed to the class limits. Kiara answering GPS. I didn't see. All right. Yeah. I don't know. He didn't say. just commented on one of my PUA videos. He's hot. Only reasons I'm understanding.
Oh.
Well, once you understand, if it helps. Hey, afternoon. All right, there we go. No? You do draw graphs in pen. All right, so we have it's 42, 28, and 21. 42, 28, and then 21. Okay, cool. There we go here. 28, and 21. All right, so we're going up to 42. $28, which is down here. I think 21 was the last frequency, right? It's down here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only had 5 intervals. Kiara, that kind of went already. Sorry. Kiba, this is the May 2019 stats question. We're doing mainly stats right now and probabilities. Yeah, Kiara. You might have to go back to like January, like mid to late January on my channel. Some lives should be there showing bearings. Circle geometry. I'll see if I could put those on public for you. Okay, in class, people, how are we looking with the graph there? All right, Liam, talk to me. You okay with that? Need me to re-explain them or no? Hope you can have a chance to draw it out. You need to practice, right? All right. You know, talk to me. You okay with the graph? All right, folks on this side who are not sleeping. You okay with that? Yeah. All right. Lovely. Okay. Right. So that was it for the 2019 question. All right. I think it was a nice question to start with. Okay. Cool. Let's go with the 2021. All right. So I had to print out 2021. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10. So Jan 2020. Oh, sorry, May 2021. All right. So this one is just 2 pages. Cool. So this one shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Right now, it's not about taking long or doing it quickly. It's about understanding what we're doing. Okay, let me pull back up my OneNote. All right, so let me just copy and paste this page. All right, so that should be reasonably visible. How many copies did I put to print? Did I not put 10? Only put 2 copies of print. Okay. All right, sorry. Those are the X values. Chief. Up and chief. Right, so 100 students were surveyed on the amount of money they spent on data for their cell phone during a week. The table below shows the results as well as the midpoint for each class interval. Okay, amount spent more than 50 but less than equal to 60. More than 60, less than equal to 70. Okay, cool, right? Who is telling me that's across on this side? That's you, Huku. Kronka. All right. Right, midpoint. Okay. They want the modal class of the amount of money spent, modal class, and an estimate of the mean. Right. Oh,
But I told you that. Okay. Cool. What?
Okay, where was we? Right, so the modal class. What is the mode, generally speaking? The mode is the highest frequency item, right? So out of these numbers here, what's the highest frequency? 31, and what's the mode attached to that? The modal class. Right, cool. So the modal class would be more than 70 and less than equal to 80. All right. Wait, where put the first one? Right, so that's the okay. So I'll wait till you guys get your printouts, and then we'll. Right, they want an estimate of the mean amount of money spent, giving your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Right. So how do we find the mean from group data? What is mean generally? If I had 4 numbers, 2, 3, 4, and 5, how do I find the mean of those numbers? I would add them together and divide by the number of them, which is 4, right? Cool. 2 and 3 is 6, 6 and 4 is 10, and 5 is 15. 15 divided by 4 is 3 and 3/4. Okay, cool. But here now we do not have raw numbers. We have in this group 7 people scored or spent between $50 and $60. In this group 11 people. So we don't know the actual value, right, of any money spent by any individual person. So what we do is we have to create, like I said, create an estimate of the mean. How do we do that? Well, we have to multiply the frequency by the class midpoint. Why? What we're assuming is that the 7 people who spent money here, we're assuming that they all spend the same amount of 55, the median value. Now, is that a correct assumption? We don't know, right? But it's the assumption we're using, right? It simplifies the matter, right? Using the median kind of, as I say, it smooths out the possible differences in the values, right? So we'll make a column for F multiplied by X. So in the first case, 7 by 55 will give us 385, I believe. Right. So what I want you to do is I want you to finish off and get the rest of the values for F by X. And then we're going to add them up. All right, we're going to add them up. We're going to sum. So that kind of weird looking E, that's a sigma. Not the kind of sigma let's hear about on social media, right? That's the Greek symbol, the Greek letter. And it means add or sum the product of F by X. And you also have to divide here by the sum of all the frequencies, right? So the estimate of the mean is the sum of F by X divide on the man Philip Dave itself, divided by the sum of F, right? So I think they told us how many students, right? No, they didn't. Okay, cool. So we have to add it up anyway. Sigma, yep. I think there's a capital sigma. I think there's a smaller sigma. I think that's it. And then you have phi. Phi is right, and theta is this. So theta and sigma could look kind of similar. Huh? Right. The modal class is the class that has the highest frequency. Right? If it was raw data or ungrouped, the mode would be the number that appeared the most times, right? But when you have group data, right, we do have individual numbers. We have intervals, and then we would have a certain number. A frequency for the interval is the amount of data points or readings that fall in the interval, right? So the modal class is the interval, the class interval with the highest frequency. Does that help? All right. And then to find the estimate of the mean from group data, you have to multiply each of these items, each of these pairs, the frequency by the class midpoint. And again, we're using the midpoint as the estimate for the values recorded in each, class interval, just to smooth the differences, right? Right, so 11 by 65 is 650 plus 65, which I think is 215. If I have any errors in my arithmetic, please let me know, all right? 75 by 31, okay, that one I might need help for. 75 by 30, that's 2250, plus 75 is 2325. Anybody? Right, yes, that is correct. 2250 plus 70, is it 2325?
Yes.
Cool. 29, okay, so 850 by 3, 25, 50 minus 85, 25 minus 85, 2465? There you go. 22 by 95, so 100, that's 2200 minus 110, so it's 2090. All right, cool. Cloudy nights. There you go. Liana, 7980. For which one, boy? No, Liana, sorry. What paper? This is in May 2019, but we're just doing the stats. We're just doing we kind of binging stats and probabilities in mind. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Liana, you sent me total. Oh, okay. All right, so that'll give me a 20. That's 400. 1110. Let's start that over. Okay, 2 as 10. 20, 28. Yep, there you go. Carry the 2. All right, that's 10. That's 19. Yep. Carry the 1. Yeah, 7. Thank you very much, Liana. Total. Excellent. Right, and of course, the total number is so 7 and 11 is 18. 18 and 31 is 49. 49, 27 to 100. Right. So the estimate of the mean would be the sum of the products of the frequency of the class interval by the class midpoint, right? That's 7980 divided by 100, which gives us 79.80. So the mean would lie in the same interval in which the median, sorry, we didn't do median, we just did with modal class. Okay. So the mean also lies in the modal class. All right, interesting. Okay. Now, just by the way, guys, if they didn't, if they give you a situation where you have to calculate the class midpoint, right? Right. So the class midpoint. So you can either do upper class boundary plus lower class boundary, then divide by 2, or upper class limit plus lower class limit, then divide by 2. All right, so for example, if you took 60 and you add 50, you get 110. 110 divided by 2 is 55. All right, and take it up just a little bit. Like that. A little too small. I'm going to cloudy night light. That's good. Yeah, sure. All right, cool. Suki, yo. Zoom back in. Good. All right. All right. Lee, I'm just gonna a quick Genie chat if you're good with this stuff on this page now, especially the estimate of the mean. All right, thank you. Yeah. All right, cool. All right. Anybody else take anything on still? All right, let me know. I'll give you a minute again. Yeah. All right. What's that? Oh, yeah, put it right there. That's cool. What was that? Hold on, just now. Yes, but the meta thing in math is that it is a system of learning and a system of solving problems. What is taught to you all that is tried to be passed off as maths is a mere shadow of it because it's a time constraint. If there was not a time constraint, teachers were properly trained and had proper classroom control, I thoroughly believe more people would be at least more appreciative of what maths can do. Now, that being said, as much as I love maths, it's not the only way to expand your brain. It's a very important way, right? Because that's how humans progressed. If without maths, we would probably not have progressed as we have. Maybe it might have been different. Who knows? Maybe we might have meditated more and unlocked spiritual stuff and teleport. Who knows? I don't know, right? But they're very interesting things. Like, for example, with pi, digits in pi, it's infinite as far as we know, non-repeating. But in it, you have every combination of numbers. You have your birthday appearing. If you map numbers to letters of the alphabet, you can have every possible book, every possible word appearing. There's something very interesting in little things like that. Pi is not just, okay, pi by diameter. It was the next way around. We didn't know how to find the area of a circle, right? Or the what you call it. We didn't have a formula for the circumference. But we noticed that there was a pattern. For every circle you had, we have a radius, right? And between it, you get diameter. Every time you took the circumference of any circle and divided by the diameter, you get the same number every time, which is pi. Right? So this number kept reappearing. Pi appears somewhere in statistics and probability as well, in some very, very random places. So there are very interesting things about certain numbers, right? But again, we don't have time to go into all that with all you. If we went into somebody more interesting thing, somebody history behind it too, it might seem like, for example, some people now like some pieces of history because of things like Game of Thrones or things like other series that Netflix did. But of course, they would dramatize and add fiction. Yeah, some people like Suits or LA Law or SVU, and they go into law, they go into criminal stuff because yeah, if it had stuff like that and they made it more appealing as opposed to this slop that always get sometimes, right? So yeah, so I understand both sides of it because it's like, why are we doing this? That is an excellent question. It is, and we need an answer. Not just because we need to know maths. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it does. Right. Okay, sorry guys. Sure, are we doing the May 2019 stats? We're just focusing on stats for now. Yeah, Jonathan, no problem. All right, guys, sorry. Let's go on to the next part of the question. All right, Damien reports that the median amount spent is $84. Briefly explain why Damien's report could be correct. Now, this contrasts with the previous question, because in the previous question, it said explain why Byron was wrong, right? Right, so Damien reports that the median amount spent is 84, right? It had some fellas outside. Yeah, didn't they just pass and go outside? Like Jair and Michael? Yeah. No, they're breathing out from the cool. They cannot break. They're here since some of them here since 10. Right. Okay, briefly. Okay, so let's go back up and find the median and explain why Damien could be correct. What do you say, 84? Okay. All right, so how do we find where the median is? We have to take how many data points there are and divide by 2. What will we get? 50. So we're looking for where the 50th observation is. How do we do that? We need a CF. So we need a CF column. Okay, in the first interval, we have 7 observations. So the CF with just one interval is just that. Nobody going to a store and ask what is the radius of the item. I agree, Maya. I agree. I'm not saying that that's what will be applied, but they have a lot more to maths than just pi and radius. A lot more. Fair enough, right? Understood. 7 plus 11 is 18. 18 and 31 is 49. So therefore, the next observation must be the 50th one, right? Yes. Right? So that must lie in the interval 80 to 90. Right? So just to conclude, 49 plus 29 is 78, and 78 plus 22 is 100. Yeah, 35 true. It was a little off-putting. I agree. Right, so the 50th item, the 50th observation would lie in this interval here, right? That is where the median observation should lie. Now, what did Byron, not Byron, that was what did Damien say? 84? Right. So yeah, briefly explain why Damien's report could be correct. Right. So the 50th observation or data point will lie in the interval 80 to 90. Right? Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to finish the sentence off. So I think I was saying 84 obviously lies in this interval, right? And $84 lies in this interval. Okay, cool. You found it with cumulative frequency. Yes, Jabari. Yeah, because it was group data and they gave you the individual frequencies for each interval, right? Sharada is 2019 me. Sorry, 2021 me. My bad. Emmy, you come back, sign again, what? Everything all right? Talk to me. What's going on? Still hope for the POA answers. Don't worry about that. Move on. Gotta move on. I know it's sour. I sour too, but we have things to do. Maths. Add maths, multiple choice things, real things. Okay, are we okay with part 2 there? Right, part B. The two-way contingency table below gives information on the mode of transport to school for 100 students. Right, so a contingency table is what it's showing there. You have your first column with the boy, girl, and total. And then you have the rows going across that tell you the modes of transport, right? Okay. So if you take a look, and then of course you have a total column. All right. So check this, right? So clearly we have some items missing here, not so? So we have this item missing. We have this item missing. And we have this item missing down here. Okay. So in that top row with the boys, right? So they're saying with the boys, if you were to add up the three numbers, the number of boys who walk, number who cycle, number who drive. So there are only 3 ways you can get to school: walk, cycle, or drive. So obviously each boy would have to fall into one of these categories, right? Cool. After maths, add maths, and then the multiple choice. Yeah. So 15. So check it. If you add 15, this number, and 14, you get 48. So we can work backwards to figure it out, right? And the same thing for the other 2, right? So for the number of girls who walk, right? Now, hold on. Yeah, we would need this figure here. But we have these 2 items. So we could figure out that one, right? And then when you figure out this figure for the boys, you could just add it to the 18 for the girls. All right. So complete the table by inserting the missing figures. Okay, cool. So organize that. Beanies. 29 and 19 is, 48. That's correct. Cycled. That's correct, yeah. Yeah, Liam, talk to me. What's up? I am just if you don't see it, remind me because I keep forgetting. Because by the time class finishes, I'll be so tired these days, I forget. I didn't send the last one for accounts. Right. So 9. Okay. Yeah. So I've seen some answers in the chat here. Right. So yeah. So for the first item here, for the boys who cycled, right? So 15 plus this plus 14 is 48, right? So if we take 48 and we minus 15 plus 14, so 15 plus 14 is 29, right? And 29 from 14 is 19, right? Now we found that one, we could find the question mark below here because 19 plus 18 will give us 37. Whoa, that's not the right thing. All right, cool. Right, now to find this item here, we could do just like with the boys. We could add up the 2 we have and subtract from the total, but we don't have that total. But these 2 numbers added together will give us the 100. So you can work backwards to find the missing figure and work backwards again. Right, sorry, predictions on that? I good. Yeah, prediction. 10 questions will come. Question 1 is calculation and consumer arithmetic. Question 2 is algebra. Question 3 again. Constructions and geometry. Yeah. Question 4 is what? Function now? And something else. Question 5 is the measurement. 6 is stats. 7 is the sequences of patterns. 8 is the relations, functions, and graphs, which could include distance, speed, time, computing the square, and just basic quadratic graphs, and linear programming. Although I have seen linear programming appear in question 2. Inequality statements. Question 9 is circle geometry and trigonometry, a favorite of mine. Question 10 is vectors and matrices. Right, 8 girls walked. All right, so let me see. So if we, hold on, let me fix that 14. I'll look into 14-ish, right. So this item here, wrong place. So the 100 minus the 52, minus the 48. Wow. Will give us 52, right? And to find the question mark across here, right, that'll be the 52 minus 18 and 26. So 18 and 26 itself is 44. Yeah, and then 44 from 52 is 8. All right, so that's 52 minus 18 and 26. Right, 8 goes up. Sorry, Steamy, Naim. Hello, sir. Recently came across a question in Jan 25%. Partly is proportion question on unit 5 ratio. Me. Sorry, did Naim pose that question? I didn't answer it. I'm not seeing the question. I only have top chat enabled. Crap. I should have put all right. Steamy, I have the Jan 2025 paper too, as a live. But unit 5 ratio proportion. I don't normally make math videos, like produce them and then I ever see no VWCT what or vectors together. Well, they won't really be. It'll be like part A and part B to the question posted. Okay, are we okay with those values there? The 8, the 19, the 37, 52? All right, cool. So we've completed the table by inserting the missing values. Next. A student is selected at random. What is the probability that he or she was being driven to school that day? So how many students in total were driven? 40. And how many students are there in total? Correct. The answer here would be 40 over, so you could express it as a, probably just 0.4, or you could put it as a fraction, 2/5 or 40%. All right. Image and object. Talking about, we're still talking about transformations. Right. That would be, no, that's question 3. Ooh, yeah. Right. Maths ain't really that hard for me. I don't worry about add maths. Yes, Suki. Suki, you should probably DM me. The access to that probably not going to be public. All right. One of the girls is selected at random. What is the probability that she did not cycle to school? So if she didn't cycle, what did she do? She either walked or drove. That's correct. She either walked or drove. This is 2 marks here. Okay, cool. Right. So if she, so the probability that she did not cycle, that's good, right? One of the girls said, what was she not cycling? Okay, so if she walked, that's 23 people. Sorry, no, that's 8 people, my bad. Right? If she drove, that would be 26. Right? And the total is 100. For him, a question. Yeah, I feel is that. Because I was going to ask if this is a girl. So if we know it's a girl, when they ask the probability she didn't cycle, is this the probability of being a girl and not cycling, or just? Because if that's the case, we'd have to put it over 52. All right, CXC maths. Yes. Uh-huh. There goes the. Oh, your name is Naim. Oh, okay. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's what I was gonna ask you guys. What do you guys think? Yeah, one of the girls selected at random. Right. Okay. Okay. Cool. Hold on. Okay. Let's think on it a little bit. Right. So one of the girls is selected. What is the person not second? Okay. All right. So yeah, the specified girls. Right. Sorry. Give me 1 sec. Yeah. Hi, mom. Okay. Yeah. By me. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Granny by the gate. She brought something for you. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Guys. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So she didn't cycle. Okay. If you didn't cycle, right? She either walked or drove. 8 and 26 is 34 out of a possible 52 girls, right? Okay, cool. Let's plug that up in the calculator. So that's 17 over 26. So 17 over 26, so approximately 65.4%, right? Yeah, because in the first one, I just said a student. And a student could be a boy or a girl. But then they specified girls, so we're like, okay, now they're just looking at the girl. So given that it was a girl, was it probably she didn't cycle? Okay, all right. So that's almost like conditional probability. But they didn't say given though. That's my keyword. You understand? Yeah, sorry. 52. Sure, rather. Suki. Yeah, 52. We good, we good. Why not 52 over 100? That's just the probability that it was a girl. They wanted to know the probability it was a girl and she didn't cycle. If I have a, it used to have a shop next to the gas station. Right, but they closed down. There's a parts store now. So you have to go back with the fruits man, even further. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the end of the question. Okay, all right. Are we okay, ladies and gents, with this question here? All right. Okay. Now we I don't know if we have time to even sniff at the 2022 question. 2023. Yeah, but all of them is about 2 pages and 20. Right. Okay. All right. So here's what we'll do. Since we don't really have time to do the whole thing, um, we'll break for a little dinner break now, right? And we'll aim to start back on time, right? But the next question we're doing is the May 2022, right? So what I'll do is right, the chats, I'll close off the chats, right? But guys, look out for the notification when I come back on, right? Yeah, when we come back on, we're gonna try to finish these May papers, and I have the jam papers pulled already, so we'll see how much we can get through, right? 6:30 beanies, right? Now tomorrow, right? Tomorrow we have measurement to do, which is volume and surface area and all these lovely things. And then you'll ask about the graphs for like the quadratics and right? So we could do that, and if we have time, we could fling in some sequences or some basic geometry. All right, so that's the plan tomorrow. And then that's it. All right. Who's that? Jabari. This would be the 2022. 2022 me. All right, but we put in a pause in it for now. Right. All right. In half an hour. I aim in for half an hour, so by 6:30 we on. Right. 54. 54. Why 54? Wasn't it 52 in total? Yeah, 52. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, Liam. Check it back in about half an hour, right? Yeah, I see. That's correct. That's the total of the girls. That's correct.